A wedding night is supposed to be the start of a lifelong ride of love and happiness. For David Carter, it was to be the most memorable night of his life. Instead, he simply vanished. No messages, no goodbyes, no trace. And the most chilling part? His bride's reaction was far from normal. She never called the police. In fact, she never showed any signs of being scared. Strange as this was, even David's friends began speculating. The days passed, and the mystery of David's disappearance was slowly exposed. It was far scarier than what they all could have conceived. Who was Lauren Mitchell? Why did David vanish just 6 hours after saying, "I do"? And most shockingly, was David not alone? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear is a story filled with deception, betrayal, and a shocking truth that no one saw coming. It was a picturesque autumn afternoon when David Carter and Lauren Mitchell stood at the altar, exchanging vows in front of 200 guests. The venue was a grand estate on the outskirts of town, decorated with twinkling lights and floral arrangements. Friends and family would describe David as a bright man who worked so hard. When he was 32, David had already had a successful finance career. The warmth of his smile and humor won the love of everyone for him. Lauren was a statuesque brunette with the richest deep blue eyes, exuding elegance and poise. 2 years ago, she had met David at a charity event. Theirs was a whirlwind romance that culminated in a fairy tale proposal. But beneath it all was the sound of a murmur. Some of David's friends had qualms. They had noticed things, small, unsettling things about Lauren. She never spoke much about her past. Her social media had almost no photos of her life before David. And when she did share stories, they were vague, inconsistent. But love has a way of blinding people to the warnings. And so, David ignored the uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach as he slid the ring onto Lauren's finger. Hours later, he was gone. The wedding reception spilled into the late hours. The guests danced, laughed, and toasted to the newlyweds. By 11:30 p.m., the last of the guests began trickling out. The couple was scheduled to leave for their honeymoon suite at a luxury hotel nearby. But David never made it there. Security cameras outside the venue captured him entering the parking lot alone at 11:52 p.m. His posture was tense. His hands were in his pockets. He looked like a man with something on his mind. And then he disappeared from the frame. Lauren arrived at the hotel alone just after midnight. She checked in, went up to the suite, and ordered room service. When the hotel staff asked where her husband was, she just said he needed some time alone. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. David's mother called. Lauren let the phone ring. David's best friend, Jason, sent a text. "Dude, where are you?" It was marked as delivered but never read. By noon, Jason drove to Lauren's house, demanding answers. And what she said sent chills down his spine. Lauren opened the door with an easy expression and sipped on a cup of coffee. She didn't seem worried. She shrugged when Jason asked her about David. "Don't know," she replied nonchalantly. "He got in a car with somebody. I guess it was just a friend." But Jason knew that was not true. David was tight-knit with his friends. He would have had to let at least one person know if he was leaving. And there was something else. Lauren's wedding dress was nowhere to be found from the previous night. As Jason peered inside, he saw a suitcase packed by the door. This was not the behavior of an anxious newlywed. David's mother called the police. And within hours, an investigation began. Detectives started with security footage at the wedding venue. The last sighting of David was in the parking lot, moving toward a dark-colored sedan. The car had no license plate, no identifying marks. It was registered to a fake name. Lauren was brought in for questioning. Her story changed. She first said David left for fresh air. Then, she said he had gotten a phone call and had rushed out. But there was a problem with that version. David's phone was found in their hotel suite, untouched. So if he had received a call, who called him? And most importantly, why did he not take his phone? While digging into the history of Lauren, detectives discovered something really sickening. Lauren Mitchell was not her actual name. She had changed it 4 times over the last 15 years. And the most startling revelation? She had been married before. Not once, not twice, but 4 times. and each one of her husbands disappeared. Her first husband was a young businessman. Last time anyone remembers is when he drew money out from his account before disappearing into nowhere. The second husband was a teacher. Went out to go on a weekend trip. Didn't return ever. The third one? A painter. Went out of studio, no traces. The fourth? Retired Marine. The last one people saw of him was leaving town. These people were never seen again. For each of their disappearance, Lauren received massive life insurance money payouts. And now, David was missing too. Detectives found a chilling twist in their case when they searched Lauren's backyard. Under a newly planted rose bush, a small metal box was discovered. Inside, they discovered wedding rings. 4 of them. Each belonged to a different man. And then, at the very bottom, there was an empty slot. A space that looked like it was waiting for a 5th ring. David's ring. It was clear, this was no ordinary missing persons case. Lauren wasn't a grieving bride. She was a predator. And David Carter had been her next victim. Lauren fled before police could arrest her. She was last seen withdrawing cash from an ATM before disappearing entirely. Her phone was found abandoned at a bus station. Her apartment? Cleaned out. It was as if she had never existed. And then, an anonymous tip led authorities to an abandoned cabin in the woods. Inside, they found a disturbing sight. A suitcase, a wedding photo, and a handwritten note. It read, "I never meant for this to happen." But David's body was nowhere to be found. 2 months later, hikers in a remote area found human remains in a shallow grave. DNA confirmed it was David Carter. The cause of death? Poison. Lauren Mitchell has never been caught. She is still one of the most wanted fugitives in the country. Some believe she is still in the United States. Others think she changed her identity again, hunting for her next victim. And the scariest part? She could be anywhere. She could be anyone. This case remains one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries. How did Lauren manage to disappear without a trace? How many more victims are out there? And most importantly, will she ever be found? If you found this case as disturbing as I did, make sure to subscribe for more true crime mysteries. Because trust me, this is just the beginning.